three factors: economic, construction, and ecological. And as you actually, I based this one, to be honest, on one of Tracy's work. Pero I still, I made my own design pa rin and colors. So
Yeah.
basically, the most important here is revolves around the economic and ecological. So of course, I'm mostly focusing on the people of Binondo. So that includes any type of person around my neighborhood, since the noise in my area affects everyone. And of course, you have the employers and the employees. But as for the illogical, of course, I still want my Aescanatus plant, as well as it attracts the sunbirds and the crickets. So the crickets act both as a prey and a scavenger. So they also decompose if ever the Aescanatus plant dies or birds die. So it's like it's there's a occurring life cycle in my area. Okay, I'll get the next. Okay. So this is my for the plant idea. I kind of actually had a hard time here because when I thought of my initial idea, it was already merged, like the plant idea plus my secondary idea. So I kind of made it as basic as possible. So I considered first yung the plant that I'll be using, which is the vine mismo, and the flower of the plant, and how it will be affecting the other biotic factors such as the food chain of the sunbird and the crickets and people of Binondo and other biodiversity factors, and how I'd be able to make it architectural. So for my architectural, I thought of yung initial vine facade and how yung hammocks also act as a vine sanctuary.
Okay.
Well, as for the noise classification, I kind of made into this diagram so there you can see the differences and similarities of each type of noise. I'll try to zoom in so mas kita. Yan. So up here's the white noise, this is the brown noise, and this one's the pink noise. Kita rin ba cursor ko, sir?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, yeah. So for the white noise, yung their similarities for the pink noise basically cognitive and memory, while white noise similarities with brown noise, it's more relaxing. And for the pink noise and the brown noise is more on concentration. Actually, sir, the effects of all these three noises can differ per person. It's just that yung etong each one on the three sides, the one that I'm pointing my cursor at, yun yung uh, pinaka parang major factor. So for the white noise, it has a masking capability, which I already said. Its ability is it's capable of masking other industrial noises. It's not really, it's masking them on our in our brain mismo. Hindi siya yung on the spot nagmamask.
Okay.
And then for the
I like
pink
this
noise,
diagram.
it's capable. Ano pa?
I like this diagram.
Oh, yeah. Tracy also said, yeah, pero medyo na-improve ko na.
So mas
For
better
the pink
kay,
noise, ano po, sir?
so mas better kay Tracy.
Di naman. Pero dahil sa akin na parang, it's because of her initial diagrams that I thought of other types of diagrams then.
Aaron, are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is what I meant as creative. You're not just talking about the architectural program. You also think about the other ideas.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
For the pink noise naman, sir, it's more of a soothing. Majority of the people who are involved in the research think pink noise is more soothing. While for the brown noise, I couldn't really put exact adjective, so I just put a depth capability since its sound is deep and it creates that feeling of parang deep. It's like when you're in a cave, when you're in a spa, or in let's say somewhere underground. There's like this deep feeling, and some people find it relaxing.
See, you have those clues already, like feeling of being in a cave, etc. Maybe
Yes.
that can provide the clue of your space, of your.
Yeah, sir. I kinda went with an architectural, but I'm not sure if it will work. But I came up with an idea that doesn't involve a waterfall. Na.
Oh,
Okay. For the next one. So this is basically wait lang. Zoom. Basically, this is a simple diagram of how I imagine my my site if there's a building on. So the outside would basically be the industrial noise. So all the bad types of noise that's surrounding my site. And then I'd be using the white noise as an exterior facade, which can mask out that industrial noise. So it like cancels out that bad noise. But at the same time, I want to improve my good noise inside or the good sound. So that's where my pink noise and brown noise will uh, go in.
Okay.
So this is for the exteriors. The interiors would be the next diagram. So here's how the process works. So there's basically an industrial noise, the city noise outside, and because of the white noise, it's like a kinetic facade, like the model I showed before. It's like a curtain. It's like the wind. I think I forgot where it was, sir. Pero me and Kevin were researching about the wind wall ba yan.
Okay.
Forgot where it was. Eh. Pero yun na, parang kinetic facade siya. At the same time, it attracts the birds. And because of that, there's a sound cancellation between the industrial and the white noise. And since I created a double facade, like I said before, so the first facade would be the white noise. Then there would be a hallway, like an interactive hallway for people. So it's interactive for the people and the kinetic facade.
Mhm.
And there's a sound masking process, which the white noise does. And for the second facade, there's basically my plant wall, my vine wall. So it acts like a secondary blocking measure if ever it's still too noisy. So the sound absorption process is there.
Okay.
And then this is where I basically made more of my improvement based from last week. So I first considered the types of pink noise. So basically those are the birds, crickets, winds, rustling, basically all the types of soothing noises. And I want to place them in the upper interior area because um, since it's a bit less noisy in the upper ground areas of Binondo, so I can use my pink noise better there. And actually, I just realized this week while researching is that pink noise and brown noise almost have the same types of sources. Their only difference is how the frequency and the pitch of those noises. So let's say if you hear a bird chirping, it's pink noise. But let's say if you're inside the cave and there's a bird chirping, the sound effect of that would be different. It would have more of a brown noise effect. So I thought of since the pink noise, the frequency as you can see in the diagrams. I tried what if I made it pass through some sort of form that makes that pink noise, the pitch, both the pitch and the frequency more lower in order to create the brown noise. So I'm basically using form to transform one noise to another.
Very good.
So the brown noise would be in the more lower interior area because if you're underground, let's say, the sound there would be more lower because there are less external factors affecting it, and the only sound that is being created is basically the bouncing of sound. So that's like an echo. So wait lang. Uh, how do I zoom out? Yeah. I'll explain my ideas later. So for this is my bubble diagram. I thought of making it 3D if I created it like this. So there's like because if it was just spheres, I thought it kind of looks 2D and you can't really tell which is behind, which is in front.
Okay.
So I made it like this. Like that. So basically the orange ones are public, the green ones are semi-public, and the blue ones are semi-private.
Mhm.
So and basically these lines are show connections, like how each program is connected to the other programs on the upper floors. So here I have my offices and employee room is basically more the public, semi-public, and semi-private. So parking, interactive hallway. So for each floor, I made like an interactive hallway balcony. That's where the white noise would come in. And for the lobby concierge, which connects to each main foyer per floor. And I also have my interior garden and the bird habitat, which is connected. So this is probably where the pink noise would go in. And here also the bar, which is for people, and the cafe also is for people to stay in, to that the pink noise would revolve around. And as it goes down, there's like a spa and a swim area that where the brown noise may be able to come in.
Okay.
So this is basically just an update. So this is what I proposed last week. So I tried making a section and making it at least not so complicated. So there'd be actually stick spears. Maybe I would be making the sketch mark. I wasn't sure processor of what I'd be using,
Yeah.
since Sintra is too rigid. So I don't think it would be a good material.
Yeah. Yeah. Go.
Um, yeah. So basically, it's there are sticks, and then the seeds would pass through here, and then there's like a hole here. So it's gonna pass through here and then go up here. Ganyan po siya.
What am I looking at? Is it a section?
Yes, there's a section.
Ah, okay. Ah, okay. It's a apparatus.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So this is also updated. So I've last time I showed these, but they're mostly connected vertically. So what if I thought if they were not only vertically but horizontally connected? Because what if a storm comes and the wind is too strong? So basically, these things would, if they were only connected vertically, they would be so parang messy. They might intertwine with each other. So I also thought, what if they were also vertically randomly connected? So I actually asked my engineering friends if there was a software that is capable of movement. Kasi sa AutoCAD, sir, you can just create shapes.
Yeah.
But I know I think I asked my mechanical engineering friends, they have this software that you can make shapes, but like with gears and with other types of connections that make them allowed to move. So I researched, but actually my payment. So I'm trying to make a student version if possible pa.
Okay.
So so the movement process can be more seen.
Okay. Nice.
If ever, I think that software is called SolidWorks.
Mm.
Pero yun nga, I'm trying to check pa if there's a free version or a crack. So basically, what I like I said a while ago, what if I tried to use pink noise and use a form to create that brown noise? So I best thought of what if I used like instruments, because like when I was high school, I was playing these types of like the brass and woodpipe. Actually played the flute before. But the reason I didn't go with the flute or clarinet is because even though if they can change the wind, the airflow, it's like a straight form. It's like a straight form. There's no. So what if I'm limited to a certain box? So I think these brass instruments would work better. So I kind of went like, what if I use the tuba, since it's the lowest. It creates the lowest and the deepest types of sound on the brass instruments.
Mm.
So as you can see here, how the airflow actually works is if you're not pressing these pistons, the wind, if you blow through it, it just goes one way like this. But if you press it, it like creates
Mm.
a longer air path. So in a way, if there's a longer air path, there's more time for those sound particles to bounce.
Okay.
So that's why if you press on one, it creates a higher frequency. And if you like leave the three, like you're not pressing the three of those, it creates the lowest type of sound.
Okay.
So same thing here. So there are like two types. Well, for this one, I couldn't really understand it. What I understood is like if you're not pressing anything, like these, if you're not pressing, it just goes through one way. But if you press it, it's able to go through a longer distance. So it also creates a higher note. Because like if you have a longer path for the sound particles to bounce, it creates more vibrations. So it creates a higher pitch. Yeah. So my first idea was, what if I use that pink noise, and I have this type of structure that is around the pink noise area. So what the idea I had here was, what if there was like a tube-like form that goes from the pink noise area, which is above this gray platform, and the brownness area would be down there. Na? So it actually envelopes around that. So that pink noise also covers those birds, the sanctuaries, the people, and they're basically there. It's a recreative place.
Mm-hmm.
But if that were to happen, I would only be probably creating one type of pitch, because like it's an everyday thing. So I thought, what if I created different types of brown noise using external factors. So I thought, what if I had the sun? So imagine if this tube is in front of the wait one second. What if this tube was in front of the sun? Since the sun is able to since the sun basically heat is able to create sound molecules, they move faster. So imagine if it was at night, you'd probably only have one type of sound, which is the deepest sound since there is no sun. But since I have these piercings, and let's say it's around 12 noon or the hottest time, basically the sun would enter through these areas, and it since the sun, the heat, makes sound particles move faster. So in a way, if sound particles move faster within this tube, it would create a higher pitch, but it would still be considered brown noise.
Okay.
So my idea was, what if I had different types of noises in each part of the day? So let's say morning, noon, where it's the hottest time, plus sunset, and then at night, it would create like different noises. So basically, that's where it increases sound vibrations, which changes the tone of brown noise. So basically, from pink noise, it goes to brown noise in this tube, and at each part of the day, the that type of brown noise, the pitch changes by a bit lang.
Okay.
So, and in a way, I tried to make it architectural. So what if there was like a ramp? So like if you're actually inside the tube, you could actually hear that echoing vibration as you go down. So there's like a transition. So it's not too how do you say this? Parang hindi ka nabibiglaan like in the change of pressure and the change of sound. So that was one of my idea. It's not really a final, sir, because it can still like the shape of the tube can still differ. But this is basically my basic idea of how I'll be able to create pink noise into brown noise.
Okay.
And then this is actually my first. I had two ideas, so this is my last sheet. So basically, my second idea is, what if I had like some sort of sound chamber that goes through basically it goes through all the floors. So it uses that upper level of pink noise, and as it goes through inside the chamber, there's like the echoing sound. So as it goes down, that's where brown noise goes in. And at the same time, there are the hammocks that I said before. They're like, so it's actually a recreative type of sound chamber. And I remember, sir, last week you were telling me how uh, what if there was a fire, and then if I didn't have any stairs and only hammocks, how would people go down, right? So I thought like, what if they had this type of hole, like the one they use in fire stations? They when there's an emergency, they don't go through stairs. They just like from one for another, they just slide down the pole. So
But this is a
it's
sound
like,
chamber. Won't these elements affect the sound behavior inside the
oh wait, yun nga, sir. So aside from these types of tawag yan, because like I wanted it's yung purpose kasi nito is like not to transfer all the brown noise, all the pink noise up here and going to the lower for brown noise. What I want is like how people, if they were like up there and they would like transition going downwards, there's like this transition of pink and brown noise pa rin.
But how do you
So
manage?
basically, aside from being a hammock, it's also like a greenery. So uh that's where my vegetation comes in. So aside from being a hammock as being only a recreative process, there's also those yung mga vines, since yun nga, leaves are very good as sound absorbing. So let's say, sir, if there were a lot of people there in those types of hammocks, the trees, the vines around them inside the chamber are also able to absorb that excess sound, like when people are talking, the bad type of sound. So aside from having those vines, it also, since the vines also, the Ischanatus plants, the vines attract also birds. So those birds are also a type of pink noise. So they also contribute to the to basically creating more pink noise, and at the same time absorbing that yung chatter, mga ingay ng tao. So in a way, it's a recreational type of sound chamber that also absorbs sound, but at the same time, it's like a tunnel. for the pink noise to travel to. Gets ba, sir?
Yeah. But this is an enclosed space, right?
No, sir. May ano, like this. The red area is the exterior, and then the pink area is like the interior shell. I just removed it here so it can be the interior elements can be seen more.
No, I understand, but this is meant to manage noise, diba?
Yes, sir.
So how do you produce the sound?
So basically, the pink noise area would be above, like my previous sheets. What if the pink noise area, like there would be a garden and a bird sanctuary up there, and there's like this transitional sound chamber, this tunnel that
The sound
allows
chamber will be beneficial for who? For the ground level?
for all, sir. Because
Or
like it's not only a transitional chamber from pink noise to brown noise, but it's also a parang a vertical recreational space.
okay.
Yun nga, pero all my ideas aren't final yet. I was just trying to check if it's possible, sir.
Um, so there are some ideas there that are very convincing. It's just that when it comes to this particular scheme, I'm still a little confused on what the chamber is all about. Is it really a sound chamber? Because when you say sound chamber, you're just basically talking about the surfaces where the sound would bounce to. And
Okay.
and then you
Uh,
introduce elements that are going to absorb sound. So it's a little confusing because it will definitely
yeah, okay. Yeah, sir. I understand. Yeah.
it
Okay.
will
I see my flaw na.
alter the behavior of sound. You know what I mean? So
So yeah. It's like conflict it's a conflicting idea.
yeah, but
Okay.
you need to. There are some ideas, but I think you need to be able to segregate them intelligently, like where to
Okay.
use them, etc.
Sige
Maybe they
po,
don't
sir.
need to exist in one area, and then
Okay.
you are managing different noise, and you need to be able to define what each noise is for. If a brown noise
Okay.
is for this one, the pink noise is for this one, because it will give you a clue of what program it is appropriate with.
Okay, sir. But I stated those already in my
Yeah,
tawag dyan,
I know.
in
Pero,
my diagrams.
oh yeah, but it would have helped if, for example, if this idea that you are working with party two is already directly linked to the idea in a diagrammatic format. Because you can already explain that this pink noise it deals with blah 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 with the garden,
Okay.
etc.
Okay, sir. Yeah. Understood.
Can we go to the previous slide?
This one, sir.
Yeah, but this idea is going to intersect through all the floors.
No, sir. It's just gonna intersect through uh the pink noise area to the brown noise. Because sir, I'm planning to put the brown noise in the second floor, while the pink noise areas would be let's say third. What if there was like a interior garden in the third and the fourth? So parang may balcony lang sa fourth. So that was my initial idea.
Okay, hold that thought. Then let's go to the previous one, the piston idea. So this is just
Ano pa?
the the tuba yan.
Yeah.
So even
Because
it's a demonstration of how sound behaves or air behaves inside the tube work of the piston.
ano pa, sir?
So basically, this is just a demonstration of how air would
Yeah.
work in this tube work. Okay,
Yeah,
so
sir. I was trying to ay sige pa ikaw muna, sir.
go ahead.
Kasi here kasi it's kind of using a mechanical or like technology to create that airflow. I kind of had a hard time on how I would make that airflow. So basically, there's like some external moving factor that creates a different airflow. I had a difficulty like thinking what that this moving external factor could be if it was architecture. So the first thing I thought what of is sun. like
Okay,
how heat can create those
that was
faster moving sound particles. Yeah.
actually my question. Yeah. So let's go to the next slide. So the next
This one's
slide, oh yeah, that
this
one.
one.
So for this one, maybe clarify with me, um, what is the purpose of the building project that you're developing? Again,
Is to reduce the industrial noise. So that's basically using white noise to cancel out. But at the same time, trying to improve the good type of noise within the building.
okay, can we go to your bubble diagrams?
Uh, wait lang, sir. This one, sir.
Okay, can you zoom in a little so that I can read?
Uh, which one, sir? Sige, I'll start from the bottom lang, and then I'll scroll to the top.
What is the general purpose of this building?
Um, is basically to it's like a recreative commercial area that
So
yun
why
nga,
do
it
you need to manage
tries
noise?
ano po?
Why do you need to manage noise?
Because here kasi sa Bino, like wherever you go, like in whatever area, there's always like a lot of people, and that there's no noise canceling factor in those types of areas. So if even if you go to a mall, you go to a cafe, you go to basically any type of, let's say, leisure place here, there's still that type of noise. It's not as, of course, it's not as loud as in the streets, pero there's still, basically the only noise that happens is basically people talking.
Pero what is the relevance of the program when it comes to dealing with noise?
Oh, sir, because like the program, I'm trying to uh, integrate integrate my both my plant and like let's say the sunbirds and how space can manage those noises. So in a way, if you let's say if you were this in interior garden, and there were plants hanging around, and those plants also connect to both the, let's say, the cafe and the bar, those plants and the existing sunbirds as well as the architecture can manage yun type of noise, not only coming from outside mga industrial noise, but even the noise of the people that they're creating.
Okay, I appreciate all the efforts that you are making, but this is the time where I'm going to criticize where you are. We're in. This is what I want to teach you about, like everyone, not just you. When it comes to creating a typology, it's all about curation. Because you're talking about noise, you need to find a more appropriate program that is compatible with dealing with noise because you created the problem. You saw the problem of noise. I'm not sure if the bar or a cafe is the best um, program that should deal with noise. If I may suggest, since you already mentioned birds, and you already have it naman you have a spa because a spa requires silence. Do you get it? So,
Yes, sir.
so yung mga bar, yung cafe, it's a little confusing. You get it?
My initial idea kasi there for the cafe and bars, like even though if we have a lot of like local cafes here in Binondo, even if you sit there, still kind of noisy. So of course me, I kind of like drinking coffee. I wanted to go. What if I went to a cafe, and even though if there were a lot of people, let's say, I'd get that minimum, get that sense of peace, pa rin.
No, that's okay, but that's very subjective. Uh,
Okay, that's
bec- yeah, the cafe kasi it's really meant to be not meant, but it's expected to be noisy because it's a coffee shop. People talk, people do meetings, etc. You cannot expect people to shut down, to
yeah, yeah.
quiet.
Get
So
it.
so maybe you want a tea room instead. A tea room is more calming. It's more probably it's expected to be more quiet if it's going to be a tea room. Actually, hindi rin eh. Kasi TWG, people talk.
Yeah.
I mean,
Same lang yung ginagawa kasi ng tao for tea room
yeah.
and the coffee
So,
place. Yeah.
but I'm not shutting down all your ideas. Don't get me wrong. Basically, I'm teaching you how to curate the
So
idea.
what if I like made a library? Because like I saw one
Yes, yes, that's perfect.
architectural. There was like I think there was one architectural output like they merged a library and a garden. I
Yes,
forgot what it
perfect.
was.
That's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm saying. a program that requires silence.
Okay.
Then,
I get.
nagkakaroon ng relevance yung pinagagawa mo. Do you get it?
Okay, sir.
Yun.
Yeah.
So, ayun, ano pa ba? Think about that and develop it.
Okay, sir.
Actually,
Thank
yung
you.
library, pwede na magkaroon ng cafe because yung mga libraries ngayon may mga cafe na. You get it? Pero kasi,
I'll try to think of an idea, sir. Like how can the noise in
oh,
a cafe be minimized? But at the same time, there's a lot of people.
yeah. Okay. Sige. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you,
sir.
Jericho. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Jao. Oh, wait. Sino ba sunod? Bea. Whoever. Bea.
Okay, so I'll present.
Okay, sige, go ahead.
Okay. Hold on. I think I'll.
Just go ahead. I'm just here. I just put my dishes to the sink.
Okay.
Just start sharing.
Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay. So I could start. I actually changed my plant when I was asking you about it because I was having trouble with my other plant before that it wasn't really going well with the entire like vibe of the place because the park was kind of a senior park and as well as it being a bird sanctuary, it had to be really peaceful and quiet. So I wanted a plant that would be able to reflect that and provide a program in itself that would be really serene and stuff. So then yeah, the plant that I chose to study instead and focus on was the butterfly pea vine plant. It's actually an edible flower that is very blue, as you could see there, and it's a flowering plant that you could eat both as a tea and as a topping for any foods that you can eat. So yeah, these are the parts that you can harvest from the plant itself. So then, yeah, I highlighted the flower because that's the main harvest that you want to get. But then, as well as that, you could get the leaves and the seeds and even the nodules that you can help that you could use for reproducing and planting. So
You
then the
drew
uses
this?
of this are actually sorry.
You drew this?
Yeah, I did.
Very nice. Okay.
Thank you. So yeah, it can be used as a tea, and it can be used also for Ayurvedic medicine because I'm in my area actually. Through a bridge you can access the clinic that of the village. So then I felt like this would be appropriate to be used as a medicine as well, and could be used as a medicine,
Mhm.
and also as a bird food for the bird sanctuary, and also as a food. So yeah. And then I also kind of studied how the plant would grow. So then, as you can see in this part, I showed how you could propagate the seeds from either a seed or a cutting, and even like how long it takes for it to grow and mature. So then it actually takes 6 months to grow compared to the ampalaya, which takes 3 to 4 months. It takes much longer. But then for this plant, since it's a vine that you could plant near to each other, it's possible to cover more area space. But if it's used as the same way I wanted to use the ampalaya, which was through it being used as a wall, a floor, and a roofing. So yeah. So then I also wanted to focus on the basil as well, mainly because of the effects it has for the environment. I mean, the environment there, which is to kind of um, make the mosquitoes like leave or something to repel the flies, and as well as giving like a pleasant smell to the area because it's near a creek. So I explained that last meeting we had. So then I just want to stick with that as well. And since it does have an effect on the neighboring plants it has, like being planted next to the this plant, the butterfly pea, it would actually enhance the flavor as well as making it more vibrant. Like it would be able to flower better because the basil is next to it. So it's a very ideal companion plant. Yeah. So then I was kind of studying the effects of the butterfly pea tea like as a tea specifically, because I really wanted to focus on having the program be focused on being a tea house because I really like the idea of a similar Japanese tea house to be incorporated in the area where, with the senior part. So then the effects on the mind and the body, where the mind would be relaxed and in a meditative state and would provide a stress relieving effect on people. And also for the body, it is, you know, for glowing skin, graceful aging and stuff. So then I felt that would be very appropriate and nice to focus on.
Okay.
So actually, instead of it just being a tea house, I also wanted to incorporate it being a library as well because of it having that relaxing mind and stress relieving place, and also because I remember mentioning earlier last meeting that in Cuenca Park, one of the parks in the village, there's actually a bookshelf that's supposed to be like um it's so supposed to be developed to become like an open library, but then it's not really given much attention to and not really nurtured in a way. So then I wanted to be able to transfer that idea into this part because I feel like it would be better implemented. So yeah. So next, I for this study I kind of wanted to talk about the relationship of both the birds and the people, because I noticed how whenever birds and people like cohabitate in one area, they don't really interact that much, and they neither do they want to. Like people might want to see the birds and be with them, but then the birds are they just really just don't want to be next to people, but then don't mind the company if they're just in a distance or don't really interact with them by touching them or anything. So then I wanted to show that I wanted to create a barrier in the space and have people be able to um, kind of experience them just through their sounds and through like just looking at them. So yeah. And then here, this is actually my study for the different spaces because I wanted to focus on it being a tea room and the library. So then I um, kind of studied the different parts that are needed for both the tea room and the library, which is there is like a space to keep both the books for the library and a reading area for the people to be able to relax and drink their tea and kind of look at the places around the birds around them. And for the tea room, I was looking at the different aspects that you need to incorporate in a Japanese tea room because it's very simple and very straightforward, which is there's a main tea room and then there's a washing room. A washing room is not actually a toilet, which I actually assumed when I was reading through the articles. But then a washing room is both like a kitchen and a storage unit for the tea itself. Yeah. So then I just in this chart I focused on the relationship of all the rooms and wanted to show the direct and indirect access and also the no access points for specific spaces.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the ground floor. So yeah, I wanted to show here the relationship of the tea rooms where there could be washing rooms in between both and not really focused on each tea room itself, and the storage unit that needs to kind of be in access with the main tea room, and then yeah, the toilet and everything. And so I kind of wanted the tea room to be at a lower level because with so much access to um the outside, like in the park, you kind of attract more people, and I wanted the library area to be more private as compared to the tea room, where the library will only welcome a select people who are willing to go there to read and pick up the books and everything. So then it would, yeah, just for that. And also like have a tea room in the second floor, so that it would kind of spread up instead of just it being in the ground floor. It would kind of bring like the culture of drinking tea, the blue butterfly tea, and like have it be used when you're reading and relaxing and looking at the birds. So then I had the bird sanctuary be in a single area. I wanted it to be something like I mentioned before, like having a sun tunnel, but then at the same time it being a bird sanctuary. So I wanted to include that as well. And those broken lines actually represent the access from the ground floor to the second floor. And I kind of put a plus sign because I don't know if I want to include a third floor yet, depending on the space. So yeah. So yeah, this is actually diagram I made for explaining the public and private spaces. So then as you can see here, the tea room is mostly very public, while the reading area is semi-private. And yeah, so yeah, I actually made this diagram for like a 3D diagram of the entire space. So you could see here the distribution of the tea rooms, the bird sanctuary, the library, and like as I said earlier, I don't know if I want to include like a third space as a viewing deck or include it as like an extension to the library or a tea room. So then I'm still thinking about what I could do with that because I knew from the beginning that I didn't want to make a high-rise building, but at the same time, if I'm able to kind of increase the space that I could use, but at the same time form like some sort of transparency so that the people, the neighboring houses won't complain about that, you know, the structure. So then, yeah, moving on to the stakeholders, I kind of divided the stakeholders first by age because it being a senior and family park, I wanted to focus the park on being on the program to be focused on the elderly first and foremost. So then I wanted to put emphasis on them, and then the second um most important like stakeholders, the birds, then the adolescents, the adults, and then to the children because um the the program I really wanted to focus on was the tea room and the library, which is not very children friendly in a sense that children would like to, make noise, walk, like run around and everything, and sometimes kind of make a mess. So then this program would be welcoming to the children because it is like a bird watching area and like a bird sanctuary, which is very interesting. But at the same time, it's more, I feel like this program would cater more to a more mature age group. So yeah. And then this one, I created the stakeholders in terms of specific um people, like the types of people that they are, which are like residents, readers, bird watchers, children, the gardeners, and even like for the indirect, I wanted to focus on how within the area there are actually people that walk around to the park, but then they're not really within the vicinity. So then like the village clinic, the non-residents who come in because of the Saturday market, which I put here, the students from De La Salle Zobel High School and grade school, they would actually visit the park, but then not so often, and even not at all now because of the whole quarantine and everything. And so moving on to the direct stakeholders, there are children, cyclists, as I said before, that there's actually a trail nearby where cyclists would go to the park during like a break and just lie on the grass and the tables that are available there. So then it would attract those people. And also, yeah, mostly the residents that are within the area. So yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, that's it for my stakeholders. But then I'm just gonna move on to the party and everything. So then when I was looking at what I could do with the butterfly pea flowers, it was really interesting because I really found the color really vibrant. And before you can actually use the flowers, you really have to be able to dry them before you can make the tea or the iced tea and anything. But then if you put it on the food, you don't really have to. But because I'm focusing on making it a tea house, I wanted to be able to make the entire place kind of embrace that idea where I would kind of use the Machuca tiles as an inspiration because Machuca tile, I don't know how to pronounce it actually, but I think it's good.
Yeah, right.
Machuca tiles, yeah. So that's really widely used in Filipino design. So then since it's like a place for elderly people, like residents, I wanted to make sure that the place felt familiar in a sense, like in terms of the design portion. So then I wanted to use the flowers to be able to decorate machuca tiles, but then at the same time be able to dry them and be exposed to the sun. Because I was researching actually on how to dry the flowers, and most often those people who dry the flowers just do it near a window and then expose it to as much sun as possible, and then it takes about 3 weeks or 2 weeks to dry completely and be used properly.
Mhm.
So yeah, but then if it's exposed actually by direct sunlight without interruption, it takes 6 days. So then I was actually exploring different materials to um be able to maximize the amount of sun exposure and heat for those flowers. So yeah, this would be the process. So then the freshly picked flowers would be placed inside the flowers in the individual tiles to dry, which I felt was also very interactive because the people who would would come there, pick the flowers, and then kind of make their own decoration and have their own part in creating the the decoration and the beauty and the art in the structures. So then I felt that was very nice to add a personal aspect to it. So then yeah, after 2 to 3 weeks, it would create those dried butterfly pea flowers. And yeah, so next I kind of wanted to study the sound and shadow play, where because it is a bird sanctuary and I want to attract birds within the space. This is not actually like the design itself, but then it's more like a study of it
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what I can implement. So then, yeah, I wanted to kind of focus on having birds within the structure instead of just having them around it. So then I wanted to create like a big space that was kind of like concave enclosure so that I could maximize the sounds that would reflect from the roofing to be bounced back into the space itself. So then I wanted to have that incorporated. And then also for this area, actually, because the second floor mainly is the library, I was kind of focusing on what I wanted to do to make it conducive to reading and kind of meditating and everything. So then what I was studying about was actually translucency in terms of glass, where um it's nice to have that sort of ambiguity to the movement around, and also in terms of translucency, a translucent material to be able to spread light through the space as well. So then I wanted to study the different materials that I could use for this. So then there's I don't know how to say this, Ocalux, and then the ETFE. I was leaning towards the ETFE at first for the tiles because it does let in a lot of the UV rays and a lot of heat as compared to other materials. But then in terms of durability, I feel like I have to research more on that or some other material and everything. But then yeah, these are the materials that I felt like I could use possibly and incorporate into the structure and to be able to create that shadow play that I wanted to produce. So yeah, there's also plexiglass and polycarbonate and everything. And then yeah, another study that I wanted to do is sound diffusion within the library itself. So then I wanted to be able to create a space that wouldn't really be so wouldn't absorb too much noise and everything. So I wanted to be able to just scatter the noise that people may create in the area and possibly produce and everything. So then yeah, it is just a thought. And then also incorporate the bird baths that I said like a few meetings back, where I wanted to create this because birds tend to go to spaces that do have a body of water. That's why that this lot I chose had a lot of birds because there's a creek next to it and everything. And most often when there's puddles within the space, you'd find birds just flying through it and just landing nearby there. So then I felt like that would be really nice to incorporate into the structure also. And another thing that I wanted to kind of study was the wind and sound windows, where like because I wanted to enclose the library from the main source of sound, which was the bird sanctuary in the middle of the structure. I wanted to create kind of peak holes where wind can pass through for ventilation, as well as making like little holes for sound to come in, but then like it doesn't really emit too much sound in the sense that it gets too noisy inside, where because bird sounds can be very relaxing but also sometimes can be very distracting when reading. So then I wanted to limit that and kind of have select areas within the space that you can experience the sound of the birds. So
Okay.
then I wanted to create, yeah, those peepholes. And then this is my last one, but it was really well thought of, that this plate. I just wanted to make it because I wanted to kind of visualize how I wanted to make my structure feel like it was flying, like similar to the birds and everything. So then I wanted to create like the lower areas to feel very light and very smooth and warm, while the upper areas to kind of have that rough and heavy aspect to it. So then, yeah, that's actually the end of my
Okay.
presentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really love. Can you open one slide, maybe one by one? I really love
Okay.
how you are immersing with your project, and I think I see a lot of potential in one or two of the ideas that you are presenting. And just like Tracy, I think you can proceed to jumping to designing the program. But of course, there will be some comments that I provide. Definitely, the Machuca tiles is one of the nicest ideas I've seen because you already the Machuca tiles inspiration rather that you were talking about the drying the leaves on what do you call it, on a tile. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then you just need to find out what kind of glass you're using so that the glass won't break the moment you step on it. It can be a question. So
Yeah.
other than that, I appreciate it because you're not really using the machuca tiles, but instead you're inspired by it. So you created your own machuca tile with, instead of a flower drawing, you have the actual flower that is being dried. And what's nice is that all these patterns are changing. I don't know, every day, or I don't know, uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
whenever.
every week or so.
Yeah. So this idea is good because there's a tectonic idea involved, meaning there's already a building idea involved. This is what I want you guys to develop also. Like I just thought you're also thinking about the details and later on how you're going to assemble them as an envelope. Can you move forward again? Yeah, so
Um,
regarding the sound and shadow play, I think this is well and good. My only problem is that I'm not sure if the bird will be invited in a very low space. It's still a low space considerably, and they might be scared of humans. Although I know you're talking about ETFE, translucent materials, they are very sensitive. They're also sound sensitive, if I'm not mistaken. So vibrations can actually distract them. And maybe the best way to do it is really to make this this chamber a little higher or maybe twice the height so that they have their own space. If you go to a church or a dome, maybe you can reference it. I've been to a church in the province. I noticed that, especially those secluded ones, I noticed a lot of birds and bats hanging out on the under the dome. I don't know if you noticed that also, and they could
yeah.
cut down, no, and they are comfortable in that space because people cannot reach them. Whereas this one, it's a little near the ground level. Maybe that area of the tower can be a little, it can be a higher. I think it can
Higher, yeah.
maybe it can be. I know it's a concern in a village, but having a bird sanctuary, it's like having a church. Like it's okay, it's to be the tallest building in a village. It's uh, like putting a church on a tumbok or on a terminus of a street because, diba, a lot of there's a Filipino belief that you cannot choose a property that is the terminus of a road because it's bad luck, feng shui wise, etc. You don't want the 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 headlights of a car approaching you in the living room. So that makes sense. So that's why sometimes, most of the time, if you're a planner of a subdivision, you put the church at the terminus. what I'm saying is that it can be an exception. Maybe if it's another building or another house that is taller than usual, then people will be a little apprehensive about it. But since it's going to be a public building, it's something institutional. It's something that everyone can associate with and identify with as because it sets the sense of place. If you go to town centers, it's still like malls in the US or even schools, like the tallest part is the tower with the clock. So they don't mind it because it sort of create that identity marker. And this tower for the bird can do the same thing, and at the same time serve its purpose as an isolation area for the birds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
feel like that's a good idea.
yeah, and then and also, although this stretching it a little bit, just in case you decide to make it a bit taller, the entire building. I mean, it can be a challenge for you to make it less obtrusive and less dominating than the other houses. Like, it can be like a challenge if you want. It's your option. I'm not telling you to do it, but
Okay.
yeah, but it's something that you can probably plan, think, and sort of make it softer. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
a question. It's just a rhetorical question. Okay. Can we go to the next? Yeah, so that's fine.
This one.
I really like this diagram because you're not. This is what I want to point out when it comes to creating this typology, that you are creating shared spaces with two species, the humans and then the birds. And at first, I was a little skeptical with this because I thought that you were referring to a translucent material in this because you wanted natural light to come into the interior space. And then and then you mentioned the dipping pool of the birds, and then I see the blue colors, and that would signify the water part, and that's where they
Yeah.
would play. So that gave me an idea that this might be concrete, and it will have a playful ceiling forms in the library, which is very interesting. Which is nice because when you are studying or when you are in the space in the library space underneath, you don't just have a flat ceiling. You know what I mean? And you have a very playful flat ceiling that has a purpose. Do you get it? I think you got that point
Yeah.
when I said that you need to create forms that has a purpose. That you need to integrate different programs, and then it creates its own aesthetic because of those purposes. Do you get it? Like
Yeah.
even the bookshelves that you created. I mean, I think this is still in the infancy stage in terms of idea, like the way the shelves will be built. This is where the building tech will get involved. Your building technology, rather. Wherein how can you create like a bookshelves that are that has another idea. It's like pushing further, no? So
Yes.
because right now, kasi you just have an idea that it's a bookshelf, but later when you are developing the project, I'm sure there will be more ideas that will come out. So can we move forward? I think what I meant by that is the bookshelves, just like how you treated the machuca idea with drying leaves. You know what I mean? Uh, so it's the same thing with this one, no, with the wind and sound windows. So I'm curious how you're going to synthesize all of these ideas together, and maybe have a clear program on the do you have a bubble diagram on how people will get involved in the Machuca thing idea?
I don't, but I think I should make one. I
Yeah,
will
there
make
should
one.
be a program. Like, what will make people do that? Like, what will compel them to actually do it? Is there you need to create a program? Actually, that's the reason why I
Okay.
I created this exercise on bubble diagram, because the bubble diagram that you know of is the architectural one. I want you to create like another layer of bubble diagram, which I think Matcha was able to do um, regarding the other aspect of the idea. So even it sounds stupid, even if it sounds a little shallow, like going to the like picking the flowers, you can put it as a part of the flow chart. You know what I mean? And then step by step,
Yeah.
and then later on you'll be able to synthesize it with the conventional bubble diagram, and that way you can have you can have an idea on how to synthesize all of these programs. But since I'm seeing the advancement of your ideas, I want you to take, you know um, the risk in developing this further. You can jump on, creating an architecture already. Create a floor plan,
Okay.
even an isometric with all of these ideas together, and then probably we can discuss. Because right now the ideas are scattered, right? Try to synthesize it.
Yeah.
We can already criticize it, and we keep developing it as we go further.
Okay.
I think you are
Thank
capable
you.
already. Okay. Sige, anything else, Bea? You have a question?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Bea.
you.
All right. Sige, Jao.
Hello.
Hello.
Wait.
Speak louder, a little louder.
Oh, is this better, sir?
Okay.
Okay, hold up.
Shy mode pa eh.
Um, do you see it, sir?
Yeah. Right
All
now,
right,
it's loading.
all right,
There you go. Yeah.
all right. So I'll start with this slide because I wanna present on how I thought of things. So, like based from last week, I mean, or like in the past weeks, um, I didn't really know what to do with the banana plant and the research behind it. I didn't really do much, but I took a step back and I tried to find things that I could use. And so I wanted to use banana leaves instead, and or keep using it because I didn't really want to touch the banana, the produce. And so I found that it had phenols that treats skin diseases and various disease, obesity and stuff. And they use this in India on like a banana leaf bath, but it's a heliotherapy where they wrapped banana leaves in their body and they bathe in the sun, kind of like that, and it helps on their, like what I said. But what I want to do with it instead is to uh, water bath it, so or extract the the things, the phenols, antioxidants in the leaf itself. So like the extraction process here, like 40 degrees Celsius, 40 minutes, then filtration, kind of like that. But I'll explain kind of how I'll do it later. And then, yeah. And then I also wanted to marry or like synthesize the compost idea. So I kind of thought that like the vermicompost or the milli compost was kind of too structured or too factory like. So I kind of went back again and I found that uh, this compost pit by Jean Pain creates heat, and yeah, as you could see here, um, these are the numbers on what he did for his prototype. So 1.6 meters, then 2.2 meters for the compost pit. And inside would be like a support material like chicken wire. And then wrapped around it are pipes. And it creates heat because of anaerobic bacteria. Basically, they need that kind of heat, the 58 Celsius to 60 Celsius type of heat so that they could function and they could keep on creating the compost. And yeah, and for his experiment or his study, this type of or like this size, this volume of compost pit will last for about 4 months to 6 months. So it could only get bigger from this. It could only get longer. So it creates natural heat. So what do I do with the heat is the next question. So, but first I kind of thought of changing the pipes because he used pipes and it was kind of linear because water goes in, cold water or tap water comes in and it heats up from the loop and it comes out hot. But instead of doing that, I wanted to extract the heat from copper, like a copper heat sink found in like laptops or like how the CPU gets cooled, kind of like that. And I researched on that more, and I found that by combining John Payne's idea, I could, instead of getting just hot water, I could deconstruct it, get the heat, and heat the water at the afterwards. And then basically, like, I researched on how copper pipes work, and basically it's not just a copper pipe. It is an envelope. There's a wick, which this is where like the gases come stays and their co-working fluid. Basically, it evaporates and condenses. That transfers the heat from one side to the other. So yeah. Then here. So what do I do with all of these? So now I have like kind of the upgraded ideas of from weeks ago, and so I have the banana leaves. What could I do with it? And the natural heating compost. And I thought of making a thermal bath, or at least creating a water bath for I guess a spa or something. Yeah, thermal bath, and then so that we could also extract the natural antioxidants in the thermal bath itself. So not only does that thing work, but it kind of drifts off in other ideas. So this is the whole synthesis of the whole thing of my ideas. So basically, let's say in this part, um, even though we collect a lot of leaves or any compost material, we will still have lots of byproduct, not just for like the farm or like the banana circle thing I'm doing, but it could be shared amongst the neighborhood. And then for here, I'm of course keeping the co-planting community from the very first meetings.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, and then and here it has this kind of um, mutualism where these banana leaves protect uh, the moisture and of the compost pit, while this compost pit enriches the growth of these bananas. And then here, of course, I went to a wellness route with this kind of this thermal bath, and maybe I could make it a flower tea because of using a copper heat sink. I could it's more flexible, so I could create different strands of where the heat is coming from. And like I thought of, since one of the byproducts of like heating water is mist, maybe I could play with the interiority of the space.
Okay.
So next, okay, here. So seasonal harvesting, I kind of designed it kind of like a clock, where uh, here's the dry seasons and here's the rainy seasons. And as you can see here, we could collect the compost for around the dry seasons, and not so much in the rainy seasons. But find the dilemma where the cold months are in the dry seasons, which is December to January. So still figuring out like the system, but I think it's good to know in here that if we want to create the compost, we have to decide on what the best time is to gather the compost so that it could be used in the colder months. Yeah. So here. So the idea of a thermal bath, for me, I was really drawn to it because of its community forming function. It has a very unique typology because it strips users for their social distinctions. So whenever someone comes in a thermal bath or any like a pool or anything, a water park, everyone's practically the same. And as you can see here, there's a thermal bath in Budapest. Um, there's a play of mist of steam, which kind of introduces interiority or opacity, where you could divide people, and maybe I could apply that to architecture. And then in here, um, the idea of a thermal bath is kind of internal wellness, and the space dissolves in steam, kind of so that um, going back to the Steam idea, we could obviously create maybe forms, but I'm not quite sure yet with how I'll approach the forms. But yeah, and then here you see that a thermal bath was supplied in the Philippines. It's called kawa. When the functions of these big pots were not really used in the modern day, so they kind of make made it like a jacuzzi for one to two persons or three, and basically it's kind of like a water bath for the herbs and the flowers they put in there. So it's kind of links with my idea of adding banana leaves in like one part of the thermal bath so that it could produce natural antioxidants in the water itself. So yeah. So before I expound on other things,
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about like the stakeholders. So I really centralized on the idea of accommodating for the people of age, because basically they're the ones in this village the whole time, uh, with or without COVID, um, and in like the outer layer of the people of age, we see like children who may not be inclined to like, sports, maybe, and maybe families as a collective, and people who want to unwind from stress. And we also see here that there's the Bahay Pag-ibig members, which is uh, like a place next to our village. It's in another village as well, and it's on uh, it's where it's a housing for the people of aged, like yeah.
Yeah,
And and
I get it.
I was yeah, I was also thinking that maybe I want to create a connection with the villages, because in let's say in the Bahay Pag-ibig, it already creates connection around the area, even within not even within their space, but um like just around the vicinity, because there's also a church there, so people could in outside could actually go inside there, and they could also see the people of age there. So maybe I also want to create a connection with these villages, and then like in the outer part, kind of your basic neighboring villages, social parties, construction workers maybe, and general tourists and the public. Yeah. And then here. so now that I have the stakeholders, I wanted to find which part of the wellness thing that I want to focus on, because there's different kinds of wellness. Like wellness for a kid is not different from someone who's like, I don't know, 70. Um,
Mhm.
so um, these are the kinds of wellness that I researched: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and other stuff. And they're cut into two: internal and external. And I kind of just like with a kind of a bias and with observation, try to define what they need, and that's what I'll try to focus on with my idea. And then yeah, so we go back to the interiority of the mist, and then so basically, a mist is created when um, hot the water vapor in the atmosphere cools down, and so yeah, it creates it's basically water, which looks like a cloud, the mist. And then I wanted to use um, like proxemics and like a radius. So let's say in here, um, if it was a basic pool and there's a central heating source, there's kind of a radial gradient going on here. So you could think that people who'd want to be in this space, as you could see here, might be the people who just want to use the space for the thermal bath. But when, as you could see, when the temperature decreases, the levels of intimacy uh, gets more public. And then, as you can see, if the temperature is higher, obviously, um, there might be more chances of creating steam. And I'm not quite sure yet on how I'll um deal with that, and how maybe I could divide the levels of intimacy with different rooms, and kind of like use the pressure, the vapor pressure of the rooms. That kind of decides the height of the space or the different rooms. So that might be applicable for the architecture. And then here in the proxemics, kind of a basic just idea of like how people like the users in here will need this kind of proxemics, kind of like people in here would uh, need a bit more intimacy, and so the steam is probably um, uh, thicker, and then the radius is smaller. And then in here, same thing, 1 meter, then 3 meters, kind of like that. So yeah, and then yeah. So here's the bubble diagram that I thought of. It's not really final yet, and I actually didn't add. I didn't divide it into floors because I'm not quite sure yet uh, on how or where will I put the floors, or if I even want. Because I kind of want it to be seamless. It doesn't seem like it. You're going from one floor to the other, but as of now, I just added like U for underground one, or like ground one, ground two, kind of like that, just to indicate. Yeah, and then here the lobby, more public than restroom, then and then when the changing room happens, you kind of go down to the space here, and then maybe it drifts off in clarity, banana circle, which is kind of the main part of the building because it houses the bananas and the compost. And then it's next to the hot pool, which is the source, then maybe shower rooms, then the public pool, which is I categorize special because, um, like I said, it kind of changes the intimacy kind of changes depending on the heat. Yeah, and then this is the user's perspective, and like and this one's the employee perspective, where you see the kind of the technical stuff that you might need, but I didn't really add most of it because I just want to add the simpler stuff first, like the mechanical room for the pool, because maybe I'm not sure if I want to add like a water collection system. Uh, but yeah, for now it's like a basic needs of a pool and the other things for uh, the building itself. And then here's a bubble diagram. And then yeah, not sure where I want to actually place the entrance, but for now I guess this part is the entrance where it's most public. Then it goes down, kind of like that. So yeah. Then oh, this one's just pictures that I took from the internet, like the vapor pressure. Basically, it's like when it evaporates, it kind of um in a, like in a small space, it kind of builds up. So maybe I could use that compared to when it evaporates like in a bigger space, which might be difficult to create the steam. And then like I want to in these pictures, I kind of want to keep like the idea of a sanctuary because kind of like this, there's bits of light, yeah, and so I what maybe I want to carve out uh the the sky so that I could divide the outside world to from itself, and from the inside maybe I could carve out like a different place, so with the sky and all, so it kind of retains uh the real life, and maybe yeah, kind of like that. So it's kind of messy how I uh presented. Yeah.
Are you done?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Sige. Can we go to well, I appreciate the bubble diagram since we're already here. And then you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that you're not sure yet how many stories you're going to work with. Um, I guess it's okay, but probably try to attempt to define it by next week.
Yeah.
Uh, I think my issue right now is the bubble. Can we go to the bubble diagram?
Oh.
It's not really an issue.
Yeah.
It's more
Yep.
like a lacking part of
Mm-hmm.
idea. If you were listening to my critique on the previous work, these are mostly the general areas. I think I'll be more excited. I mean, I'm happy with this, don't get me wrong, but I'll be more excited if, let's say, you have a separate bubble diagram discussing what the flower tea is all about,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
the creative part, basically. And then,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is okay. Basically, you're showing the areas where it works, no? Or where it will be located. But you can create a subcategory or a sub bubble diagram that talks about how the process of the flower tea, the banana circle, and
Mm-hmm.
actually those two, because those are the unique ideas that I'm seeing in this diagram in what you presented. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you create wait lang you create a what do you call it? Wait, let me just create a subcategory or another set of bubble diagram just for the public pool. No, because that's not the creative idea, or maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know with you, but I want to see how the flower tea and banana circle is going to get involved the moment you synthesize all of them together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
like if the flower tea, example lang naman to ha. So don't take this literally. Like for example, if you're not done with your flower tea, is there an option wherein the people can throw away the leftover onto the pool and things like that? So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yep.
you create a connection. Do you get it? So in a way,
Yep.
they're all symbiotically related. So I want you guys to think that way. Even right now we're just dealing the bubble diagrams. Later on, we can think about the tectonics. I mean, the how we're going to build everything together, etc. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the pipes that transport the mist onto the public pool is all also connected to the other systems that you have in the flower T and the banana circle. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
creates an architecture, an envelope, etc. So that's our goal. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So can we go to the next to the other slide just in case? I want to make sure that I didn't forget anything. Okay, just the same. Oh, Bianca, Anobea, and the others. You need to think about the the service areas as well. If there will be a caretaker, I know it's not really an exciting part, but you need to integrate it. You need to meet the pragmatic part, and then we integrate it with the creative part. So I really like this. I mean, these are all okay. This is a supporting idea to justify the distances of the elements in your building. Okay, so you need to keep this information, this proximic data. Uh, Yun. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, sige.
Yeah.
I want to see next week, like, probably I have a feeling. I mean, I wanna risk like you jumping to the next stage, like Tracy and Bea. Um,
Mhm.
I think you're capable. It's just that you're always unsure. I mean, it's part of the process. Because I want to see where the banana tree will be and where the flower tea is located, but mostly where the plants are located. And what
Okay.
kind of architecture and tectonics you were able to generate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yep.
um, for you and the rest that I said to jump to the next level, the next stage, I don't want to see research anymore unless it's supporting a new idea that you thought of for the architectural. I want to see more architectural output next week. Okay, like a synthesis of these ideas. Okay,
Right, sir.
all
Yep.
right. So no more BRK color diagrams because I get it.
Mm.
You know how to do it nicely. Uh, that is adjustable. That will still adjust according to the development of our idea. Kasi our process is very loose because I want you guys to see it a certain way. Okay? Sige.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jao. Good job. Provinciano is next, no? Tama ba?
Ako po.
Okay, sige. Go ahead, Adriano. May feedback yata.